Good morning, everyone. Today on Carnivore Chit Chats, I am meeting with Jenny Shain. I'm excited to share a chit chat with her and talk about all things carnivore, why she's here, how she found carnivore, and why she chooses to stay. For those of you who don't know what a chit chat is, it is two people sitting down together talking about things to do with life, sharing insights and encouraging each other on this crazy journey called life as carnivores. So sit back, relax, and check out this chit chat with Jenny Shain.
Good morning, Jenny. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's nice to have you on my channel.
I'm so excited for you. This is a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't met you before, and my audience hasn't met you before. So I thought we would start with you introducing yourself and a little bit about who you are, maybe what you do, but also focusing on how you found carnivore and why you stayed.
hmm Yeah. So, is the sound okay?
Sound is great.
Okay. So, I always felt like my superfood that made me feel the best was eggs. So I grew up with some health challenges, and it took me into my mid 30s to get over to figure out to resolve them. And I was looking at them when I started looking at them holistically, then I started making a lot more progress. But whenever I felt weak, we didn't feel good, I knew when I ate eggs, I felt like empowered. I felt so much better. So I knew, I always said eggs were my superfood. And about 10 years ago or so, I saw somebody post something and they said they're doing zero carb, all
Hmm.
meat. And I thought, that's crazy. Like, that is so absurd. That's ridiculous. Um, and then a few years later, I found people like um, Kelly Hogan and all the carnivore leaders. They kept popping up on my feed. And because I was doing holistic health and I knew that Americans were overfed and undernourished, it made sense to me once I started opening up my mind to it. So, I had already cut the carbs a lot because of going keto. So
Hmm.
I was I was keto. I was gluten free, soy free, corn free, sugar free. So to make that step to go to carnivore was not hard at all because it makes you feel so great.
It does.
It makes you feel um, your mind is clear. You feel stronger. You feel more empowered. And specifically, red meat. I believe red meat is the key
Hmm.
to make you feel your best. So, yeah. And so as I grew up, I had health challenges, but when we moved to Georgia, back to Georgia, I found a naturopath that helped me start resolving my gut issues, my
Amazing.
digestion issues by exposing the gluten and corn and soy problems. And I was basically already sugar free, so that wasn't really a problem. So that's how I got into the holistic natural field. And then I did her course in Pure Vitality to become a holistic health practitioner. Now, most people in the holistic health field and in the world are not carnivore. They're not
Yes.
carnivore. So, and but I went down the carnivore road before I did the course. So,
Okay.
yes.
Excellent. And so, but why stay?
Why stay?
Yeah, why stay carnivore?
Yeah, so I have noted desire to go back because once you once you become nourished, you feel empowered, and nothing makes me feel as good and clear and strong as meat, as carnivore. Um, and I haven't done the lion diet, but I that's basically that's what I believe is the best for me
Hmm.
is to go. If you're completely, for me, if I'm only eating only meat, that's when I feel my best. Now I do eat some dairy and sour in the form of sour cream and a little cheese, but it does not make me feel great. Like I
Oh,
don't get
wonderful.
full and satiated, and I don't feel empowered.
Yeah,
When I
compared to meat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
meat is it makes me feel empowered and clear and ready to take on the world.
I love how you talk about nourished, and when you feel nourished, you don't want anything else. So I
Mhm.
don't know if you followed much of my journey lately, but I know there's people out there who don't know a lot about me. But I initially found carnivore in June of 2020, and I did it for 90 days and then spent the next year or so, sort of dipping my toes in it, for a week or two, and then going off of it for a week or two. And it wasn't until um, late 2021, but early 2022 that I definitely did um, get fully on the wagon and go straight carnivore. And I did about maybe like 6.5 months. And then I went off again and a little bit on. And I did that. And then in 2023, I went back on again for um, like 7.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that takes me to mid 2024, so last year. And I move from Redding, California to Alabama to move closer to my boyfriend, who became my husband. And during that move, I was terribly sick.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up on antibiotics. It was a 6 to 8 week ordeal. And in those last couple of weeks, I had also started working a 40-hour week. And I was not doing good. And I'm like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to get a frozen yogurt, like one of those, frozen yogurt places. And I'm like, I'll get the smallest one and I'll have a little bit and then I'll be done. And so I did that. And then I was good for a couple of weeks. And then what happened was my husband and I did this thing where we're like, I remember this from my childhood. You've got to try it. And like, I'm Australian, he's American. Some of these things, like, I've never seen, heard of, whatever, never tasted. Same for him. And so it began this thing where we would have a couple of things over a couple of days and we'd get back on carnivore. And we did that. And then we got engaged, and then it was our wedding, and then it was our honeymoon. And we had decided when we got back from our honeymoon, we would get straight back on carnivore. And we've just continued the same kind of pattern. And so, most recently, a month ago, we went back on carnivore and we did 2 weeks solid. And then it got to our half-year anniversary of being married. And we had every good intention. We had been a week earlier to an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue and hot pot. We'd done full carnivore. It was amazing. We felt great. So we went back and we went to a different one. And it was like 2 hours from home. A few different style of meats that were available. And so we went there and we kind of did the same thing that we had been doing, where it's like, oh, let's try a mouthful of this thing and a mouthful of that thing. And so by the time we'd finished there, we'd had a number of non-carnivore things. And now we're 2 weeks later, and most days we have had non-carnivore things. Any of the progress that we had made, we have undone. And we're both just feeling miserable and unhappy. And in the last now 15 months, we have both put on around 50 pounds each, which is a lot. And we both remember how we felt. I'm an abstainer, and definitely a sugar addict. It's hard, but at times I can say no to things like mushrooms. And I'm like, say strawberries and cream, 2 or 3 strawberries with cream. I can say no to that because I'm doing carnivore. And then, we'll go somewhere and I'll get cake. Even though I said no to the strawberries and cream because I'm doing carnivore, I ended up going with the cake. He's more pizza is his more issue. So he's more savory, I'm more sweet. And I say all of this to say, if you were chatting with someone, maybe through Instagram, and they're kind of like me, they're listening to one of your reels or one of your videos, with your experience of once I had renourished myself, I no longer desire to do anything but carnivore, what would you say to somebody who has done carnivore for a reasonably long time and yet who has fallen off carnivore and is struggling to get back on board but wants to?
Hmm. Um, I would say get an accountability partner and have a coach or a friend. A lot of times friends aren't great at it because they're more concerned about being your friend and then
Yes.
holding you accountable. It's nice to have a coach who you can meet with once a week or do check-in calls or texts. So that helps. But it's not the end of the world. We're going to start again right now and make a new commitment. And we're doing it because it makes us feel great, and we want to feel
Hmm.
great. We want to feel empowered. We want to feel mentally clear and able. And we're not just doing it for today, we're doing it for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So we can make a new commitment. It's not, we don't have to be dogmatic. We're doing this because it makes us feel great. We're not doing it for somebody else or for another purpose. So I would say those two things.
Okay. And I agree with you. Sometimes it's better to have a coach or an accountability partner because friends and spouses, like my husband and I, get so caught up in the let's do the fun thing. And we're both foodies. And our favorite saying is, oh, you're such a fat kid. Because, you know, we were. We were walking through Costco about 2 months ago. Well, maybe not that long ago, but a little while ago. And I see this massive, like it's probably 6 foot tall. It's taller than me, and it would be maybe a little bit less than a yard in width. And it's an advent calendar. And the advent calendar is from Lindt chocolates. And every single day you open it, it's an entire bar of chocolate. And I have pointed this thing out to him before, and he's called me a fat kid for it. And it's true because you see it and you respond exactly like a kid who's standing in a candy store and who will not stop eating it. So we're
Right.
walking through Costco a week ago, and he's like, oh my gosh. And he's staring at exactly the same thing. I'm like, you're such a fat kid, and we can say these things to each other.
Yeah.
But we then go out to dinner or something, and we sometimes often encourage each other. So we don't make good accountability partners to each
Right.
other when it comes to food.
Right. And my husband
Yeah.
would be like the same. It's just that. Don't worry about it. You know, my one of my best friend's husbands, they'd be like, it's just this, or it's just fruit. It's just fruit. God made it. It's natural. But it's not for us because we know that it's a slippery slope for people who are when you taste sweet, it triggers something in your mind. It can
Yes.
trigger um, memories. It can trigger addiction. It can trigger hunger. It can trigger making you overeat. It can trigger histamine issues. It can trigger blood sugar, insulin. So, yeah, it's hard to do outside of the carnivore community.
I agree. My favorite saying when someone has said to me, oh, God made it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, he made poison oak.
Right.
Hmm. And what would you say to somebody who has anaphylaxis to peanuts? Well, God made them. So here, eat a peanut. It's like, and look, I say all this and I say some of it with sort of my tongue in cheek. A lot of these people are quite ignorant. And a lot of people don't think, like, I never thought until about 2 years ago, well, what about poison oak? Like, I never sort of, and I'm like, just because God made it doesn't mean he made it for God, for us to consume.
Could be for another species.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, I
Some
haven't, yeah, sorry, you go.
Something that if you go on to Instagram and look up Triple Play Doc, to me he's like a mentor to me in the holistic field. He's a chiropractor in Hawaii and California that talks about food, and he says the body should only be consuming food from where you are located.
Agreed.
So your state, your area, wherever you are. He said, if you're in Georgia, Alabama, you shouldn't be eating fruit from Venezuela, or well, I shouldn't say Venezuela, that's Argentina, Brazil.
Hmm.
You shouldn't be consuming food outside of your region because of light issues. Anyway, it's very interesting.
So I agree with you when it comes to like fruits and vegetables and things. Do you think the same way when it comes to meat?
That you, well, I would love when I can afford it, I will eat locally. So, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I love Australian. I love lamb. It's one of
Mhm.
my favorite things to eat, but
Oh,
certain cuts. So, we'll go, Costco often carries lamb from Australia or lamb from New Zealand. And I love to get that every so often. But would you apply that same principle of we should be eating locally with our meats as well?
I would. I'm not doing that because right now, when I can
Cost.
afford it, I will be doing that. But yes, and that is what Triple Play Docs talks about too. Yeah, it applies to that you should be buying your meat or your food
Wow.
locally with
I
carnivore.
never would have thought about it to apply that to meat. Fruits
Mhm.
and vegetables, absolutely. But um, and maybe not necessarily the frozen fruits and vegetables, depending on
Mhm.
where they had come from, but definitely the fresh kind. And I think that that was my perspective with the meat as well, is I'm assuming it's been frozen and then thawed out once
Mhm.
it's transported. But maybe it hasn't. And that actually, the more I think about it and go down that rabbit hole, the more it's concerning of like, well, should we really be eating that? Like, what contaminants are in that? I mean, I eat it and I don't get sick, but is it helping me heal?
From what Triple Play Doc says, it doesn't have to do with the contaminants as much as the sunlight, where the sunlight hits the earth. I don't understand it all, but I trust him because he's fantastic
Yes.
with healing and food. So that's very interesting. We'll have to look into that more. But
Hmm. On
yeah.
this same vein, I have this idea that, sometime in the future when we have children, my husband and I don't have children yet, but when we have children, I have this idea that I'm going to plant some edible plants in the garden and my kids will eat them. And it would be nice if I could eat them as well from time to time, grow them without chemicals and things. So I'm thinking maybe a lemon and a lime tree, things like blueberries, raspberries, and cucumbers and zucchinis, just some basic ones. Some people, my husband is one of these, he likes to keep pickles in on the carnivore diet, and he'll have some pickles with his burgers.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, well, I could grow cucumbers and I could pickle them, and we know what's going in it. I am concerned because I am such an addict and such an abstainer that I will grow these things in my garden and I will eat all of them before anyone else can, or I will eat them and I won't. It'll be that gateway drug where
Yeah.
I'll then be like, well, I can go get a punnet of blueberries because we've run out, or I can eat that cheesecake. What would you say to somebody who is like me out there, who has that same idea, or maybe they're already doing it, but they're struggling because it's their gateway drug? And, what would you advise them? What would you say?
Um, I do declarations for people to help release addiction and most people when they think of addictions, they think of alcohol, drugs, smoking, whatever. But
Correct.
addictive could be anything. It could be addicted to a screen, blueberries, whatever. So I help people do declarations like I release feeling like I have to go back to something. So I help people do a declaration, and we might do it over the phone, listen to it. Another thing I do that might be beneficial is there are homeopathics and um, to use for feeling like you're going back. I hate to use the word addiction with something like blueberries, but we understand that that can happen because you want to go back to
Yes.
that. It still triggers a sweet uh, in your mouth. It triggers something in your brain when it hits the tongue. The insulin um, starts producing when it hits the mouth. Anyway, there are some homeopathics to use for things like that. And we can make a custom homeopathic for you or for anybody to help with that. So I've got, let me see, here's a declaration let's see. What is your body really craving with this? To ask for yourself is, what is your body actually craving with this food, this thing?
Ooh, well, if I based it off our anniversary dinner, I would say joy and excitement and fun.
Yeah. And was that something you had or didn't have in your childhood, that it also triggers something in your inner child, in yourself, that you felt like you had or didn't have when you were younger?
I mean, we, as a child, there was often a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, and I remember the amount of times that, we would leave our house, we would drive down certain main roads, and as we got into the next main town, one of the first fast food establishments was McDonald's, and that was ours. Like, we didn't go to any other fast foods, it was McDonald's. And at that point, it was a 30-cent cone.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, my mom wasn't working, my dad was, so single parent home, 5 kids, a 30-cent cone when you've got 5 kids
Mm-hmm.
is very affordable. And so on the way to my grandmother's or on the way home, I knew it was coming up when I saw certain landmarks, and I would say, ice cream, McDonald's, 30 seconds, And I remember distinctly this one time, I don't know how old I was. I was probably older than 7 for sure. I don't know if I was older than 10. And I remember this one time, and Dad had often stopped. It was a regular, and he said no. And I said, when I'm an adult and I'm working and I've got money, if I want it, I'm going to go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done lots of, self-control since. But whilst there was a lot of fun in our childhood, there was also moments like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So do you feel like you could live fully and to your completely, wholly, and fully without going back to those addictions, to those, I shouldn't say addictions, to those joys in food?
Absolutely. I've done carnivore before, and I absolutely can. I found ways to have those moments on carnivore, and that would be things like making oopsie cake or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would look delve into this a little bit more and say, I release my and you could form your own declaration. You could say, I understand that I have associated with the joy in my life, but I'm graduating to the next level, and I'm going to be able to put this behind me now because I'm graduating to a new level in life, and I'm becoming more mature, and uh, I am able to disassociate this with my life, to put it in my past, to graduate from this and accept a new level of joy and maturity so I can become my fullest self.
Hmm.
Something
I
like
I
that.
love I love that. Is this something that, let's say I'm at work and I'm having a moment of cravings. Is this something that I could do just inside my head, or is this something that needs to be done audibly?
It worked. That would be great. Yeah, you could close your eyes for a second and say it in your mind. That's a very good point.
Hmm.
Yeah, or you could have it on a card.
Oh, yes. So you're reading it.
Yeah, a little
Hmm.
little card.
I
Mm-hmm.
really love how you're using words to counteract an issue. I remember probably, oh gosh, 10 years ago at least now, I read a book by Margaret Court. She's a very famous tennis player in Australia. And she wrote a book called Winning Words or Winning with Words. I've got it in my bookcase
Mm-hmm.
behind me somewhere. And she talked about the power of our words. And, I think about the fact that my husband and I have been walking around, and when we point at something, whether we intend to eat it or purchase it or not, the other one will be like, oh, you're such a fat kid. And I think about the power of our words, and I'm like, I actually wonder how much that is undermining our ability to remain carnivore. And then
Mm-hmm.
here you are using these declarations and these statements, using words to undermine the quote unquote fat kid and help us stay true to the plans, the dreams, the desires, and the goals that we have for our present, but also for our future. And I really, really love that.
Yeah, if you can, so yeah, I would stop making that declaration of I'm a fat kid, because it is funny, but now that you're graduating to the next level, you can say, I love the fat kid, and now I'm separating myself. I'm putting that in my past, and now I'm going to go to the next level. I'm going to become the mature person. I would just say this out loud. I'm becoming a more mature person that I am. You know, in the Bible, Paul, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament, talks about putting the past behind us, putting the juvenile things behind us, so that we can get to the new person that God has for us. So, and words are so powerful. So that might help also.
Yeah, on this same vein of thread, I remember, I've talked about this in some of my videos before, but I remember going to an event with very, very, very close friends back in California. And I was at an event, and this was in maybe September. And I was doing pretty well sticking a carnivore at that point. And I remember one or two of those people coming to me and saying, like, you really need to eat some fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, but like, I have, Crohn's disease, I have IBS, they are actually causing me more harm than good. I feel great. I'm losing weight. My skin's clearing up. I'm sleeping better. I feel really good. And they're like, well, you don't really know what's going on in your body unless you get blood tests done. Have you had any blood tests done? And I said, not recently. I'm planning on getting them done, around March next year. And he's like, they're like, I really think that you need to, eat these foods. And then the other person was like, this person is older than you. You really need to respect them. And so when I fell off carnivore, sometime later, and even more recently this year, now I've been in Alabama, these words play in my mind regularly. And I know many people that try and do carnivore out there have had similar experiences. And I remember hearing Dr. Baker say, Callie Hogan say, Dr. Ken Berry say, why would you go to a doctor if you feel good? So if you feel good, why would you go get a blood test? And it's interesting that even though I have heard all of those things from these great doctors, these one or two things from non-doctor educated people in my life have been the things that have had more of an impact on me. So what would you say to people in that situation where they're experiencing all the naysayers and the really wise advice from educated people are just not penetrating as strongly?
Those people might be specialists and professionals in their field, but they're not you. You're the only person that lives in your body that's ever experienced yourself. And a lot of the professionals in the medical community, they were trained with a Rockefeller background in medicine, a Rockefeller controlled matrix in medicine, and they haven't been trained in energetic medicine, holistic healing, natural cures, and you can't say the word cures, so natural remedies. And they haven't been, they don't have experience in anything outside of a lot of health outside of the medical matrix. So they don't understand carnivore. They don't understand even the oxalates and phthalates and in defense chemicals and defense mechanisms in plants that don't agree and are hard to digest for humans. And for us specifically, because we're the only ones who live in our body, we know how it makes us feel. So they're not in our body. We have to become our own experts, our own our own salvation for our life when it comes to what we're putting in our body for food and nourishment. We have to take complete responsibility and control over our own body and not let other people influence us who don't understand or who we haven't invited into that space.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I'd like to change just a little bit in what we're talking about. My favorite topic or conversation in the carnivore space is to talk about going back to the basics. And I apply this to people who are just new starting to the carnivore journey, who are wanting to lose weight or heal a condition that's going on in their body. Someone who wants to put on weight, I would not put in this category. And when I say go back to the basics of carnivore, I'm talking about eat an animal, land, sea, air, but you eat its eggs, but don't have the dairy. Don't use the seasonings. Don't use any of the suitable sauces like yellow mustard. Even avoid tea and coffee, depending on how severe your conditions are. And this is my favorite topic to talk about because there are many influencers in the carnivore space over the last year, and the frequency of it is increasing more because they have been carnivore for so long that they have healed a lot. And so they're experimenting with dairy and, figuring out how to make cakes that are predominantly animal and don't have any of the nasties in them and things like that. But, whether it's cakes, breads, whatever, when you're somebody who is new to carnivore, you're needing to heal, you're needing to lose a lot of excess body fat, seeing those things all the time are not helpful. And so my favorite topic is talking about going back to the basics for that group of people. I'm curious as to what your favorite topic is in the carnivore space.
So do you refer to that as the lion diet?
No, because I say any animal, land, sea, or air. So for someone like Michaela Peterson, if she was coming to me to be coached, I absolutely would have her on a very strict lion diet. For all the reasons that she has talked about. For somebody like myself, depending on what season I'm in throughout the year, I would go from all the animals to only ruminant animals. Sometimes I would keep in eggs, sometimes I wouldn't, but I would not go lion diet because for somebody like me, lion diet triggers falling off the wagon. But I would do lion diet, say 1 day a week or 2 or 3 days a week with non-lion diet in between each of those days.
Yeah. So what was your question for me?
What is your favorite topic to talk about? Like, what's your niche in the carnivore space?
Well, I think that meal prep is great. I feel like if you can think ahead a week or two and where you're going, and you will be prepared with your nourishment, that it will really help. And going back to what you were saying about if you had your children, you were in had blueberries or whatever. Going back to that, also, if you're prepared with you can always go back to meat. You can always go back. Always be prepared. Like if you want to eat the blueberries and you shouldn't eat them, go back to your meat. Just go in and start eating whatever meat you have available, a fatty meat, because the fat will satiate you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Go back to, of course, you know that. But to other people listening, if you have any craving at all, just go in and eat. There's no restrictions on the amount of meat you're going to eat because it will level itself out. It's hard to overeat on carnivore. So go in and eat. Now, whatever your craving is, just go eat meat, fatty meat. So and going back to, I think meal prep, going back to the key component is meal prep and having having fatty meat on hand at all times. So when I go out and I'm going to be gone for a while, I cook sausage patties in the air fryer for 8 minutes, and I put them in my silicone bag, and they even stay hot in the silicone bag. So I'm always prepared. If I have four in my bag, I can go anywhere for the day. I am prepared.
Mm,
Or you can get, like, I do the sausage patties or the sausage links. I know I'm going to feel secure. I'm going to feel satiated. I'm not going to feel like afraid that I'm going to be in a bad situation, or I'm going to feel weak, because I know I'm going to have nourishment on me and having my water with me.
yes.
So,
Yeah, same over here.
so what I love the most about carnivore is you don't have to make a recipe. You don't have to go to
Yes.
the store and buy 20 things to make your meal. All you have to do is have a freezer full of food. You don't even have to have a refrigerator. You just have to have a freezer.
So
You,
true.
yeah, you don't have to get a bowl out, mix all everything up, chop anything. You just stick a piece of meat in the air fryer and you're good. You're ready.
My favorite thing is having, a decent sized refrigerator, opening the door, and it's like my water jug, my trays of meat, a couple of cartons of eggs, some butter, and like
You're
I can
good.
see you're not moving all of these things to
Yes.
find that one particular sugar filled soybean oil sauce or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it's just it's space and it's open, and you're right, the freezer
Right.
full. We bought a half cow earlier this year and it was one of the best things we did.
Yeah. So, and if you have a pressure cooker,
Yes.
you can put roast or chicken if you like chicken, or in a pork loin. You can put anything in the pressure cooker for about 25 minutes and you're ready. You're good. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
then,
absolutely.
so, you can have a steak or a pork steak, or a pork chop, or sausage, or any kind of meat like that, and just stick it in the air fryer frozen. You don't have to thaw it out. That for your listeners, and you're in 10 minutes. You have your whole meal.
Exactly.
It's
One of
so
my
easy.
favorite places to go eat out at is Golden Corral. And I know that seems really
Right.
silly, but at 4 o'clock,
Yes.
they swap over to the dinner menu, which includes things like steak. So
Yeah.
if you get there at like 3:15, 3:30, and you sit down, you take a moment to get your water, to drink and everything, and then you walk through, you get, your first plate of your lunch menu items. So it's things like chicken thighs, it's things like real thinly sliced pork chops. You might even be able to get, they had cold shrimp on the salad bar yesterday when we went, that you peel and eat shrimp. And then you've got your first plate, you've got your kind of appetizer, and then you can go back and it's after 4. So you've got your steaks. And, these are not panda massaged meats. They're not A5, what is it, Wagyu, that
Mhm.
costs $100 a pound. Like, it's not. But for me, and for many other women, there's certain days in the month where you're going to eat probably 2 whole cows throughout the course of the day. Like, you are ravenous. So to go to, um, somewhere like Golden Corral, you're talking about, it's about $15 per person plus a tip if you go the lunchtime pricing. And then I normally eat twice a day. I normally eat around about a pound, maybe a little less. I'll go on this date and I'll have 4 plates piled high. I can guarantee that at cooked weight, each plate is over a pound. And I will eat that and I will thoroughly enjoy it. And it's so silly, but I know it's not, the best meats compared to what I could be eating. It is 1,000 times better.
Mhm. Any meat, in my opinion, any meat is better than any vegetable or dessert.
Absolutely.
Any meat is nourishing.
I thoroughly agree with you. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. I know that like I know if I was watching this, I would want this information, and I know that there's a number of my listeners that will want this. So can you share with my listeners how to find you if they want to get in touch or follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Jenny Shain, or you can email me, jenny.shain@yahoo.com. That's JENNY. .SHAIN at yahoo.com. If you want coaching, and I'm a holistic health practitioner, so I test the whole body. I can test organs for Lyme, mold, food sensitivities, food intolerances, gut issues, all kinds of things, and help them to be resolved holistically. If any of your listeners want to go down that route, I do coaching and counseling as well, and help with food issues as well if anybody needs that. And we will definitely talk again.
Oh, yes. I was going to say exactly the same thing. This has been fascinating. I've loved it. So thank you so much.
I
And I
love
look
seeing your
forward to this
journey,
again.
and you have
Yeah.
inspired so many people with
Thank you.
keep up your daily stories. They're wonderful, inspiring.
Thank you very much. All right. We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Well, wasn't that such a wonderful chit chat with Jenny? I am so excited that she agreed to sit down with me. This was such an insightful conversation with her, and I am looking forward to many more, and I hope you all are too. I will share her Instagram and email contact details down below. Please be kind. Go over to her and follow her on Instagram, and like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.